What's up? Welcome in. Good morning, Hoge Jahns, live with you on YouTube after yet another Bears loss. We get two of these in 1 week, Johns. Two post games that.
What a stinker, man! What a stinker! What one of the worst games, and this is saying a lot because I've covered a lot of crap, but one of the worst games I have seen live by the Chicago Bears in my 12 plus years covering this team. Just awful, horrendous, pathetic football.
Yeah, the other game that comes into mind when that topic comes up is always they played the Chiefs in early December. I want to say it was like 2011, 2012. Tyler Palko. Kyle Orton actually started the game for the Chiefs. Got hurt. Tyler Palko had the only touchdown in the game on a Hail Mary right before halftime that I believe Brian Urlacher had a chance to intercept and missed. And that was the only touchdown in the whole game. Otherwise, it was very similar to last night where it was just like a punt fest. 13 punts last night, 9 points. So you did have the Australian punter battle going on for punter enthusiasts.
Like yourself.
Yeah. We had 5 Australians at the CHGO tailgate yesterday, and somehow they didn't know each other. There's all happened to be, and so I don't know if they came in for the punter battle.
Australia's not a town, man. It's a continent. It's a country.
Well, I get that, but the fact that you had five Australians come separately to the same tailgate was a little odd. You got to at least admit that. Yeah, Australia, big country. We get it. But yeah, I don't think that that's what they came to the game for, is watching 13 punts.
Well, maybe they did.
Yeah,
maybe maybe they're family members of each side of, Yeah, I don't know. Like, I want to give the Bears defense credit, the Seahawks defense credit, or at the same time, maybe the offenses they were facing were just that bad.
Well, it's probably a little bit of both. Honestly, if I'm on either side of these teams, and upset or worried or whatever, like the Seahawks, they still need a lot of help to get in the playoffs. But considering what this Bears defense has been, pretty much dead last in every category since week 10 or whatever it is, to have that offensive performance last night would really, really concern me. But this is a Bears show, and it feels like the first time the Bears have had so many chances in some of these close games to win and obviously failed. But there wasn't really that game, because you could blame the clock management. You could blame, a couple times the Bears actually took the lead. There was the Hail Mary game where they took the lead and then it got blown. This is the first one where it was like, all right, the game was right there to win. Offense, your defense held them to 6 points. You got to do something. You got to be able to score. They obviously didn't get helped all the way down the field with some of the clock management there, but for it to end, I thought there were still chances for Caleb Williams to make a play on that last drive. So this kind of, my point is, this kind of feels like the one time this season where it's like, all right, Caleb really didn't make the necessarily, and despite that, he still did have that 4th down conversion, which was a hell of a play. So you did have like the miraculous Caleb Williams go Superman moment still, but unable to convert against this team and win the game when it was right there.
So to give a little context on how things played out, let's start with 3rd and 14. Bears at their own 45. Caleb Williams scrambles to his right. Somehow gets the ball over the middle to Roma Dunze for a 15-yard gain and a 1st down.
Yeah.
And then there was like a long gap between like plays, like where you're questioning the urgency. So this is what we see from the press box. Like Caleb Williams is down. The Bears are rushing to the line of scrimmage, like semi-rush, and not exactly like
Not really.
no, not showing
Yeah.
like greatest sense of urgency, but getting to the line of scrimmage. And then you see like Caleb Williams teammates, the Bears players on the sideline were sprinting back to where Caleb Williams was down on the ground. Caleb Williams later told us that he was hit in the throat and the head on that play, and he's probably a bit shaken up. Gets up, finally makes his way to the line of scrimmage, where, let's see what happens here. Caleb Williams passing complete short right, and then they call a timeout. DJ Moore later explained that the play call they got in, nobody knew what to do, where guys were just lined up in the wrong spots.
Which is the same thing that happened in Detroit.
Yes, which is, I guess the best way I would interpret that is you have Thomas Brown trying to install new things without the time to do so after replacing Shane Waldron as the offensive coordinator in the middle of the season and then replacing Matt Eberflus as the head coach. Trying to put his own stuff in late in the year, trying to run his offense as much as he can at this point, and the Bears just aren't learning it quick enough. This just seems to be a calamity of errors, and the errors just keep increasing. Some of it's Caleb Williams himself, some of it's Jay Curran having just two really bad penalties. It's just, I don't know. Like, I want to blame Caleb Williams, but at the same time, like, Adam, the Bears are an absolute mess.
Yeah.
And I still think it's kind of unfair to expect him to raise above a lot of this mess at this point.
Well, I think he has risen above a lot of the mess. To be honest, I mean, when you look at the interception streak, when you look at the he's not going to break Eric Kramer's passing record now after yesterday's game, but it was on the table. So, despite everything that happened this year, he almost was the franchise leader in passing yards in one season. So I think in some ways he has, but yeah, look, Johns, if I have this right, I believe they've practiced one time in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
They've had walkthroughs. They one Friday practice last week. The week before that, I think they had 2 practices. So am I doing the math on the games? 49ers, Vikings. Who am I missing in there? Lions. I think they've had 3 practices over the last 3 games. I don't know how you're supposed to get better in those late game moments if you're not practicing it. Look, we got to call what it is at this point. It's a completely lost season. It's gone completely off the rails. Almost nothing makes sense. Another game where you're like, oh, well, it would make sense to target the tight end. Cole Kmet has 0 targets.
It's so stupid. Honestly, it was one of the dumbest games I have really ever covered. To hear, like, I listened to Ryan Poles' interview, like this is how like deeply rooted the problems are.
Oh, that was a bizarre interview.
Yeah, like to hear him like explain that some of the slow starts, like the root cause of them is it dates back to like the preseason and training camp. Like, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah.
Like in all seriousness, like if that's the problem, like where's the football seriousness? Like I want to blame Matt Eberflus, but he's not here.
Well, and the reality is they've gotten worse since Flus
Yes.
got fired. I mean, they've gotten worse pretty much across the board. Same issues are popping up at the end of games. The offense has gotten worse, and that's not to say they shouldn't have made the move. I think those are 2 different conversations. I think when you have a moment like what happened in Detroit, they had no choice but to make that move. But everybody, including us, was very curious what it would look like with an interim head coach, what it would look like with Thomas Brown. And it has not passed the test. And now we know. And then that's the good thing. Now we know.
Somewhere in Hallis Hall, George McCaskey is telling everybody that he's right. This is
Yeah,
why
but
we
see-
do not. I
But see,
know, I know.
but that's part of the problem. That's part of the problem too. Is that there's too much of this like, stubbornness that you're right about things. There's nothing that you write about when you're this bad over the course of since you took over the team. Can't get a head coach hire right now. Now they might have to fire another general manager. I don't know that's going to happen, but you lost 10 games in a row. Johns, they're going to lose to the Packers on January 5th. That's going to be a full 3 months since they last won a game in the United States of America.
So I wanted to bring this up because I had a question for you. So in 2022, the Bears had a 10-game losing streak to end the season, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This year, they're looking at an 11-game losing streak, during which they fired the offensive coordinator, they fired the head coach. Fans have gone from chanting "Fire Flus" to "Sell the team" in your home finale. Does Ryan Poles survive this season? Like I think this is now adding up where just the past podcast, like, okay, you could, I don't know if the Bears want to go down that road. I don't know if they want to have another dual search for their GM and head coach. I'm not sure George McCaskey has the stomach for such a thing. Maybe the best idea is keeping Ryan Poles in place. But in his 3-year tenure, there are already 2 10-game losing streaks in 3 years. And one of them is about to reach 11 games because there is no way the Bears are beating the Packers at Lambeau Field. Absolutely not. The only thing that's missing from this season is the Packers pummeling the Bears.
Well, let me shelve that Packer part for a second because we still got to look at playoff scenarios and stuff like that. But that being said, yeah, last night felt significant. I mean, sell the team. So first of all, you have the offense is driving. Isn't that remarkable? Your offense is driving with the ball with a chance to win. And in the middle of all that, you got sell the team chance going on. Not to mention, I mean, one of the most perfectly symbolic moments for this 2024 team where you have an offensive lineman jump when you're trying to draw the defense offsides. You jump, which the Bears always jump. They're always the team that jumps. It doesn't matter if they're on offense or defense or they're the team that jumps. So they jump, sell this team chance. Caleb Williams makes a miraculous Superman throw, immediately followed by a sack. That's 2024. All right there for you. And to your point, like, this is one of those moments where it's like almost beneficial that you're watching the broadcast at the same time, Johns. I mean, you're taking it all in the stadium. From our perspective, watching on TV, they're cutting the Ryan Poles, they're cutting the Kevin Warren while all this is going on. They're showing the fans with the bags on their heads. There's some poor like 13-year-old kid in the front row with his shirt off who's like, looks like, you just want to pull him out of the stands and hand him a Jordan Love jersey and say, dude, make some better life decisions right now. Like that, this is what it's just like, cutting from one thing to another and you're just like this. And Kirk Herbstreit is, I don't know what he's doing. He's like, at one moment he's like criticizing Caleb, then he's not, then he's praising Caleb, and no one. Al Michaels just wants to be on vacation in Jamaica. There's so many things going on at one, and we're just sitting there like, what a disaster this franchise is.
What I would tell Kirk Herbstreit is, welcome to Chicago Bears football, where everyone's to blame, but no one's to blame, and everything's a complete mess. They don't know how to win a football game, and everybody's pointing fingers at somebody. Oh, they have to be great. Like, so does Poles, we know how the McCaskey family works, Adam. When public anger reaches this level, can he survive this on a national televised broadcast? You gave You have all those visuals. They didn't find George McCaskey, though, did they? As we talked about last podcast.
I don't think they did. There was a lot going on. Maybe somebody in the comments can correct me. I don't think they did.
I did see some pictures on Twitter that fans, they took pictures with him on the concourse and whatnot. He always does that. Yeah. We know how this team reacts to such things. I'm just now fully wondering if Ryan Poles can survive, if George McCaskey has just had enough and realizes that he made a mistake.
Okay, well, maybe. But for one time, can we not make this about what the optics are on television or in your stadium or whatever, and look at this practically? Because this is what should decide the future of Ryan Poles. Are you going to have a lame duck general manager conduct a coaching search? Or are you going to operate like a normal NFL franchise, which is you have to have an open mind and look at what your candidates, who they are and what they might want, because you are setting yourself up for failure here. Either you're giving him an extension, Ryan Poles, that is, which he does not deserve right now. I don't know how you would do that.
And it has to happen this week.
Yeah. So there's that. So you can either make that crazy decision, or you have a lame duck general manager be your point person in a head coaching search where he might come across an amazing candidate like Ben Johnson, who might not want that guy to be his general manager. Talk about awkward situations there. So to answer your question, Johns, to me, the move here is whatever you thought or think about Kevin Warren and when the job he's done, or he was supposed to be here to get a stadium done, which he hasn't done. And, ideally you had your coach and your GM in place and that wasn't going to be a problem. Well, guess what? It is a problem. Kevin Warren, to me, needs to take this thing over. This is why you hired him. This is why you replaced Ted Phillips. And I get all the other arguments too, like let the football person hire the football guys. I actually agree with that. The problem is the Bears have created this situation where the football guy might have to hire a guy that wants him fired. And that might be the best person for the job. And none of that makes sense because that's the situation that you've created here. So Kevin Warren, unfortunately, I feel like has to take over this thing. And I don't know what you do with Ryan Poles in the meantime. Do you just fire him? Do you still have him part of these interviews, knowing that he might not stick around when it's all said and done? But you do not have the luxury of crossing candidates off your list like you did with Jim Harbaugh last year just because of the structure you have in place. Change your structure. Get the best head coach regardless of what the structure ends up being. That has to be your mentality. And I don't know how you do that with Ryan Poles leading the coaching search.
My advice to George McCaskey, if he's listening, we know he's listened occasionally, is if just get serious. Let's get serious. It's time for you. The game has changed so much. It's time for you to hire your own president of football operations. Like, separate your church and state. I'm not sure I feel any better about Kevin Warren running this head coaching search after what's happened with the whole stadium. It's a fiasco.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm with you.
I don't think George should feel that way. I don't know how he can feel encouraged and emboldened by what's happened with his team president. It's time for the Bears to separate church and state. Forget this hierarchy that you've liked forever. You've spent money in the past. Install a president of football operations and let this person run your search. Let Kevin Warren focus on the stadium stuff. That's what he was hired here to do in the first place. I know he's supposed to oversee everything, but it's not working. It's not working. Your president went to was in a press conference not too long ago saying how much he liked Ryan Poles in a very awkward news conference. So that's what would be my advice for the Bears. They're not going to do it.
No, I know. Chris Spielman's official title with the Detroit Lions is Special Assistant to President, CEO, and Chairperson.
Fine, do that. Maybe Pete Carroll wants to do that.
So that basically means that he is the special assistant to both Rod Wood, who's the president and CEO on the business side, so that would be the Kevin Warren, and Sheila Ford Hamp, who is the George McCaskey of the Lions.
See, that's fine. You're telling me there's not a single former Bears player with the expertise, the confidence, the willingness, the ambition for such a role?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can name a handful of them. You know, that maybe there needs to be a committee of former Bears players, but I can think of a bunch, including, I don't know if you saw this on the broadcast because you were at the game, but did you see who was sitting next to Roger Goodell last night?
No, I know this though.
Charles Tillman.
Charles Tillman. Well, there'd be one.
Charles Tillman was sitting next to Roger Goodell. I don't know what the board does with the Chicago Bears, but like, isn't the point of a board to evaluate the chairperson?
The board is filled with his family members.
What? I guess that's what I mean. What do they do? You got all McCaskies and then two owners that picked up shares of the team like 30 years ago. And then isn't Kevin Warren on the board now too?
Yeah, just like Ted Phillips was.
So it's like, what's the point of the board? Why do you even, there is no point. We don't say all these things like we're not trying to be jerks here, but like, it's no wonder you're in this position. We're 10 years removed, Johns, from the Virginia's pissed off press conference. That was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And now you're about to lose 11 games in a row.
So that was, so remind me, that was the press conference following the disaster that was Mark Trestman.
Yeah, the end of the 2014
And I would
season.
say this might even be worse, man.
It might
at
be.
least won games.
Well, I think they won 5 that year, but so that's one more than 4.
They won more. They were 8-8 the previous year.
Yeah.
I've had this thought, just in terms of like public perception and how things can influence the McCaskey family. Like the Bears fired Matt Nagy after his first losing season. He went 12-4, 8-8, 8-8, and then what? 6-11, 6-10. Let's see here.
I got it right here.
6-11.
Yeah.
Maybe they should have kept him another year. You know, I'm just trying to like encapsulate how public perception affects the McCaskey family. Like at that time, there were calls for Matt Nagy's job, probably because he failed to meet the great expectations. The fire Nagy chance. Remember the discussion about the fire Nagy chance at his son's football game.
Yeah.
Like that spread like wildfire around here. Matt Nagy was dismissed. Ryan Pace went with him. I don't know.
But that's not the problem.
I'm just searching.
I know you are. The problem is not that the problem is that they're doing this stuff. They're always too late. That's the problem.
Yeah, I put that in my column the other
They
day.
should have done it a year before, is what they should have done. They should have recognized you lost 6 games in a row that season. You were going to reset the quarterback again, right? Like, and this is the same thing that this is one of the questions I had for you that I wrote down before the show. I was going to save it till after voicemails, but we might as well do it now. Here's a fill in the blank for you. We'll be talking about the Bears not pursuing Jim Harbaugh for blank years. $20?
I don't know. I think that will eventually go away, but it'll be prominent if Jim Harbaugh turns the Chargers into, annual Super Bowl contenders. I'm not sure they're there yet. They're not in the same class as the Ravens, the Bills, and the Chiefs. But if he gets them there, well, then yeah.
No, but they're playing competent football, and it's whatever the Bears end up doing next month with their head coach. they're still chasing what they didn't do a year ago. Like, that was the mistake. Now, is there a world in which they can fix it? Sure. I mean, maybe Ben Johnson's that guy. Maybe it all works out. But as has been the theme in 2024 on this show, we should know better. And unfortunately, that's just, I don't know. That's where I'm at. That's how I feel about it. It's just, once again, they are just trying to undo the mistake that they committed last January. Should have been done then. Lining up with you're drafting Caleb Williams, get him the offensive coach at that time. Heck, maybe Ben Johnson would have taken that job in January. Maybe he wanted it. Maybe he does want to be the Bears head coach. He wants a. Yeah.
How do you think Ben Johnson felt watching that game on his couch last night?
Well, I hope even he turned it off. But yeah, he probably turned it off and then designed his next cool play that he's going to run against the 49ers on Monday night. Yeah. That's what I would have done if I was him. I mean, what's there to work with? If you, in all seriousness, you're Ben Johnson watching that game. You're like, I need 4 new offensive linemen. I don't know what's going on with the tight end position. Probably only bring back one of those guys and hopefully find a way to actually throw him the ball. To remove Keenan Allen from the situation to get more out of Roma Dunze? I don't know. I'm not sure. Everyone keeps talking about how great, the talent is over there. It doesn't look like it when you've lost 10 games in a row.
I'm starting to wonder how many guys actually want to come back themselves.
Yeah. Well,
there's some big contracts on the Bears books, and some of them are about to be on their third head coach, I believe.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
We got your voicemails from last night. Great job, our team, turning those around on short notice. And here are your voicemails from yet another Bears loss.
Hello?
Do you know who this is?
Oh, you didn't know? Your ass better call somebody!
The Hoge Jahns voicemail. The Hoge Jahns voicemail line.
Believe it or not, George isn't at home. Please leave a message at the beep.
Got any questions or comments about the Bears? Give the guys a call before, after, or even during the game.
Go Bears!
Okay, Cat, John Z. Bed, Bob Dabrowski. Merry Christmas. What in the hell was that? Unbelievable. Let the season end. Solid team.
Hoge Jahns, we're about a half hour away from kickoff. Another Bears primetime game. What could go wrong? No one expects the Bears to win. It can actually only hurt them at this point. So these are the types of games the Bears win. Bear down, maybe.
Maybe this is one for the Fishman, but has a team ever had their bye week and then just not won the rest of the year? Because that's about to happen. And on top of that, the last win wasn't even in this country.
Halftime, 3-6. I'd rather peel my eyes out with a spoon. Hey, listen. Since the answer's been right in front of us the whole time. Since the Bears love Ryans and Matts, let's just hire Matt Ryan to be our quarterback, GM, and head coach. That way there's continuity. You know who's in charge. The leadership's there. The guy was in a Super Bowl. Hey, Matt Ryan, 2025. Let's go.
The thing is, I'm not just disappointed. I actually really hate this team right now. I've never, ever hated a team the way that I hate this team. Like, obviously, I hate the Packers more than this team, but I don't know.
Did they not revoke Flus's key card? Like, what's going on? Did they even employ anyone to help with the clock management? Like, seriously, do the Bears even have anyone in the booth helping with that? That was insane.
I was smart.
I didn't tune in to the Lions Bears game because I knew it was going to happen. But today, I like a largemouth bass looking at a Rapala lure, I just bit, and I watched probably the worst football game of all time. Bear down.
Just when you thought this defense couldn't get worse, they show you how much they suck. These guys owe me money for all I spent to watch these games.
If you don't have a kicker who can hit a 57-yard field goal in 2024, you don't have a damn kicker. Sell the team already. God.
Hi, my name is Jace Thomas Klein, and I'm a big Chicago Bears fan, and I want to tell the whole team that they should never give up. And I'm a hunter, and I don't give up. I might sit in a tree stand for a whole day and might not see a deer. I might see a deer and nothing else, but just like that, like in football, you should never give up. Sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some.
Here's a dark horse candidate for head coach next year. Adam Hoge with Adam Jahns right beside him. I think you guys got a better shot than anybody. Bear down.
Hey, Bears fans, B-Man here. I actually stayed up for the whole game this time. At least we didn't get blown out. Bear down!
There we go. Some new callers in there. That's good.
Yes.
Got me looking up Cairo Santos' contract in the middle of the voicemail segment. That is a fair point. I mean, in today's NFL, they can't even try a deep 50 kick. That's not the first time that's happened this year either. It's tough.
The Lions nearly made a 60-yarder on Sunday at Soldier Field in less than ideal conditions. It was just a little bit wide right. Had the distance, just didn't have the accuracy. Maybe the wind got it, but you're right. I mean, these kickers are bigger, stronger. In college, they're making like 55, 57 yarders.
Yeah. It looks like, if I'm looking at this correctly, so 3 years left on Cairo Santos' deal. If they made a move before the start of the new league year, it would only cost them about $2.1 million in dead cap, save them about $2 million overall. If they wait till after the new league year, there must be more money that kicks in, because then it costs them $5 million. So that maybe that's when you're just talking about right going into the voicemails, you're talking about like money being on the books and perhaps changes that are made. I wasn't necessarily thinking about that one off the top of my head, but it is a fair point.
Likes, dislikes. I don't like anything about this game. I have a lot of dislikes, but many of them are the same. It's the clock mismanagement, which seems to be a deeply rooted issue for the Bears beyond, who's calling plays or who's in charge on the sideline. It's the offensive line is just a massive problem. It's a complete failure in terms of investing resources. Like, this is what you get when the resources aren't invested correctly. Bears offensive line, I know they're banged up. I know there's a lot of different reasons why they're this bad, but my Lord, I mean, one of the worst offensive lines I think I've covered in my Bears tenure. And that's saying a lot of things.
Well, let's stop there real quick, because there's a couple things there. So I was thinking about that this morning when I woke up. Your 5 linemen that started last night. Okay. Larry Borum, who we all thought could be cut in the preseason. Matt Pryor, who was a backup, who has just turned into your starting right guard all season. Jake Curran, who was cut out of training camp. Coleman Shelton, who is not supposed to be your starter at center and has been all year. And then Darnell Wright, who of those 5 guys mentioned there would be the only slam dunk who's back next season. And even then, not sure you're getting top 10 pick going into year 3 next year value on that one. If we're just being completely honest. And this was the thing we heard from Ryan Poles the most about when I'm thinking back to this introductory press conference, the day we talked to him on the side, interviews that we've done with him over the year, like it was got to fix the offensive line. He's an offensive line. I remember him talking about body mass, like certain things that he values with offensive linemen. It's been a disaster. An absolute disaster. And I couldn't help but, Johns, think about pregame even when the inactives came out yesterday. So Karan Amagaji's active, but didn't play. There's no rotation. That's this year's 3rd round pick. Last year's 3rd round pick, Zach Pickens, inactive, healthy scratch. The 3rd round pick the year before that, Velus Jones. I believe he's on the Carolina Panthers now. It's 3rd team this year. Those are valuable picks. You can't screw those up. You can't go 0 for 3.
You need a starter somewhere in there, at least a contributor in some aspects. Karan Amagaji went from like what? He was your starting left tackle 3 games ago, right? To a healthy scratch to a healthy backup who didn't play. Like, what's going on here? It's just.
But he never. That's another example of gross mismanagement, because he should not have started that game in Minnesota, and how they didn't know that just speaks to how they don't know what's going on. Especially when you consider that wasn't like okay, man, now's your time. You're going in there. We're going to prep you all week. It was last minute.
You know what?
Which is the point of having a veteran swing tackle on your team for those last minute moments.
My instincts seem to be telling me, at least in this moment, I've been kind of thinking about it for the past couple of days, especially after he was inactive and after the Vikings game. Like, I don't know, maybe his start, Karan Amagaji's start, was one influenced by the personnel department. Where, hey, we drafted this guy in the 3rd round. We need to see if he's ready, what he can do. And you have the coaches be like, well, he's not ready. Well, then why isn't he ready? Let's go see what he can do. It's your job to get him ready. Well, he's not ready. And this is what you get.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that's later revealed as something that transpired late in this season.
Yeah. Well, the more and more you kind of lay all this stuff out there, it does seem harder to believe that they would keep the general manager. I mean, I don't know how you just, if we're sort of accidentally creating a pros and cons list here, and there's not a lot of pros. You have in fact, this would probably be a slam dunk that Ryan Poles is gone if that Caleb Williams trade hadn't been pulled off. Now, it did get pulled off, but even then, we don't have an answer that that's 100% going to work. I mean, we had people in our chat last night saying that they should have traded trade back, got in the hall. That's it's not going to go away. So
here's a conversation that George McCaskey should have. Maybe he should talk to Caleb Williams about what type of faith he has in Ryan Poles. Had the wrong offensive coordinator, fired his first head coach. He just got sacked 7 times against the Seattle Seahawks, who are a middle-of-the-pack team in terms of pressure and sack percentage. 67 times he's been sacked this season. Like, how does Caleb Williams feel about his place on the Bears, on a team that's run by Ryan Poles? These are serious discussions that George McCaskey has to have. Or Kevin Warren, if he's really running everything.
you cannot tell me that Caleb Williams goes home at night and feels good about the situation that he was drafted into. I mean, how could you? I mean, no one listening or watching this pod or doing this pod feels that way. Yeah.
67 sacks.
And obviously I need to and will continue raise my hand and be like, yeah, I was part of the contingent that was like, this is a great situation to get drafted into. Got all these weapons. And then every once in a while we'd be like, yeah, what about the offensive line? And be like, yeah, that's not good. Well, that should have carried more weight. I'd 100% admit that.
Like, I had some concerns about Shane Waldron. I like that he had play calling experience in his background. I like that he learned under Sean McVay. I like that he learned under Pete Carroll. But boy, was I wrong. I didn't think he'd be that bad.
Yeah. Well, that's going to go down as one of the worst hires in team history. I had another fill in the blank for you. This might seem like it's getting a little ahead of ourselves, but there's a reason why I'm asking. Because it kind of has to do with the offensive ineptitude. The Bears' leading receiver in 2025 will be
Keenan Allen.
Next year.
Oh, next year, 2025?
2025.
I hope it returns back to DJ Moore.
Well, it probably should be Roman Dunze. But the reason why I asked is because, like, I have no effing idea. Like, I can't figure out that room at all. I can't figure out why they don't seem to have established roles. Why would you say that there's chemistry with any of those three players? Like consistent chemistry?
No. Adam, this offense is beyond broken.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what Caleb Williams, just beyond the experience of just simply playing, learning how to deal with crap, becoming more physically callous to what the NFL, the rigors, the pain and punishment of playing quarterback in the NFL. Like beyond those experiences, just in terms of like schematically and what to build on, I'm not sure there's anything he could take from this season into the next season. And I mean this seriously. Yeah, okay, maybe some Sean McVay principles can be carried over to the next head coach if he happens to have that core philosophy already in him. But this offense is one of the worst in the league. They may not finish the season. How crazy is this? They may not finish the season without a 1,000-yard receiver and without a 1,000-yard rusher. In today's NFL, the Bears can finish this season without both. Like how crazy is that?
Yeah.
Seriously.
But that's Bears. That's very Bears to be that to be that team. And then you got players that are literally like, we didn't know what to do at the end of the game.
I know.
We didn't know.
Not only was one guy in the wrong spot, but multiple guys were in the wrong spot.
It's week 17. We didn't know what to do. No idea. Oh man. If there was ever a team that like you just wanted to punt on just forfeit the last game and go home, this would be that team.
The Bears' leading receiver with one game left is DJ Moore with 880 receiving yards. The Bears' rushing leader is DeAndre Swift with 894 rushing yards with one game left. It's possible the Bears could finish this season without a 1,000-yard receiver, without a 1,000-yard rusher. That is a whole new level of ineptitude, especially in today's NFL with every single rule installed in recent memory, installed to help the offense move the ball down the field.
Mm-hmm. Well, the question is, can it get worse? There's one game left. And the answer to that question is always yes.
You're the Green Bay Packers.
And you play Green Bay. So, yes, it can't get worse. Whatever that situation is, they don't play their starters. They play their starters. They don't play their starters, and then you still lose. Like that would be worse. It can't get worse.
It always does.
Yeah. Packers have a big game against the Vikings on Sunday.
You know, Matt LaFleur is 67-31 in his 6 years in charge of the Packers. He has one losing season at 8-9.
Yeah.
And in that, he has navigated going from one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time to developing a quarterback that many had questions about, and now who may be one of the top young quarterbacks in the league in Jordan Love.
And Kevin O'Connell's the first coach in Vikings history to win 13 games twice, and it only took him 3 seasons to do that. So, all right. Anything else?
I don't know. No. Let's get to these super chats.
Oh yeah, we have some supers to get to. Absolutely. We can pop these on the screen. Pesh 6787 $5. Why does the national media refuse to just accept that we only want Ben Johnson? Every time they bring up any other name, I want to throw the TV.
Well, you have to consider other possibilities just because there's the possibility that Ben Johnson is going to come in the house. So I'm like, nope, no, thank you. Don't like this. Not a good vibe, not a good energy. See ya, suckers. I'm serious about that. I made a joke there at the end, but he has been the word intentional is always used to describe him. Like, if he doesn't like what he feels and sees and hears at Hallis Hall, he's not going to come here. He's not going to want to stay here. Real possibility that the Bears have to consider here, as much as they try to woo him in all this. So yes, he should be on the top of the Bears' short list of candidates. He is by far my favorite candidate, but there is this chance that history will repeat itself again, and Ben Johnson doesn't like what he sees on the open market in terms of his head coaching possibilities, his opportunities. He pulled himself out of the Washington Commanders race last year. The Commanders, who had a top 5 pick, a chance to reset everything with a quarterback. He said, no, thank you. He did it 2 years earlier with the Houston Texans and the Carolina Panthers, who were in the same boat. Just saying.
That's a fair answer, but Pesh 8767, was that his name? He did just throw his TV.
Oh.
After listening to what you just said.
Sorry.
Arctic, $5. If you gave DJ and Komet truth serum, do you honestly think they would rather play with Caleb Williams than Justin Fields? No athlete wants to burn 1 to 2 years on development.
See, like, I get that. But at the same, the numbers would tell you that Caleb Williams is having a better first season than Justin Fields had in his 3rd season, right? All the numbers are better. The wins aren't there, but the numbers are better.
He's technically having a better season than CJ Stroud is in his 2nd season. But it doesn't mean the question's not fair. There's certainly been players that have been hurt by the fact that he is a rookie developing. And there's no question about that.
100%.
And you do burn a year. Now, I would say that those 2 guys, they are compensated very well. They are both under long-term deals. DJ signed his this year.
He signed it after the moves.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's so. True serum or not, like, he didn't have to sign the long-term deal. I still think that can be worked out. It comes down to coaching, man. I can't get that out of my head. This is the NFL. Coaching matters so much. Just get that right. Crystal, $4.99. Morning, guys. To sit through that was horrible. I almost went to sleep at the game. Embarrassing. Can we please do the right thing for once? Crystal is one of those people that invests her money constantly in this team. She was there last night. She's at all of our CHGO tailgates. You know, positive to the very end. And this team just keeps, punishing people like Crystal. And most of you guys watching and listening to the show, because you're still watching and listening on Friday, December 27th, after the Chicago Bears scored 3 points for the second time this season, embarrassed themselves on national television. So, as I like to always say, you guys deserve better.
The Bears are so fortunate. They have so many fans. For whatever reason, just love this team, love following this team home and on the road. There was a guy on the broadcast last night sitting in the front row, 800 games, home on the road. Like, the Bears don't deserve some of these fans. Like, they really don't.
Yeah. Paul Zawicki, right?
Is that who it was? I forget his name.
I think that's his name. Shout out to him.
Like, I have a buddy, Chicago police officer, travels to so many games.
Mm-hmm.
Loves this team, diehard fan, and like, they don't deserve his money. They don't.
So yeah. All right. Well, was that our last super?
What did you so like?
Yeah.
I don't know if you had any final thoughts on the sell the team chant. I put it, of course, it's the lead of my column. In my 12 plus years covering this team, I've never heard that chant. I've asked others who have covered the team longer than me. They have not heard such a chant like that before. How do you think that, like, what did you make of it in the moment? And what do you think? Do you think they're actually talking about that at Hallis Hall today?
Well, for me, that I'm kind of surprised to hear, but like you think about it, yeah. I don't know if I've heard. See, I'm so used to hearing it at a White Sox games that I guess I kind of, you there's so much bad ownership in this town. You start to you forget where you heard the chant at which games because you hear it so frequently. I guess you're right. I haven't really necessarily noticed it at Bears games, but we've seen the bags. We've seen bags that say sell the team. I feel like. Do I think they're actually talking about it? No. Why would they? This is their business.
They're not talking about selling the team. I'm like,
yeah. Oh, do you think they're just talking about that the chant came up?
Yeah, they're not talking about this. That's not going to happen. Like,
they're probably doing it in like a weird way where like they all know what they're talking about, but they don't actually acknowledge it. Like, yeah, like, got pretty bad last night.
Yeah.
We got to take this seriously. We don't want to lose our season ticket holders. They're thinking of it from a revenue standpoint. But then they don't actually. Someone actually brings it up. Yeah, someone actually brings it up at the table. Well, did you hear, George? Did you hear what they were chanting? No, I know what you're talking about. What were they chanting? Oh, no. That I guarantee you that's how it goes down. Like, I don't.
It's pretty good.
All right, back to item number 3. Now, what type of stools do we want at the table in the stadium? You want the high ones or the low ones?
Oh, we got one more super chat right here at the end.
All right, Joseph, you get the last word. $4.99. This is all and completely the fault of George McCaskey. Please keep researching the succession plan. Nothing can change until he gives up the reins. Yeah, if you missed it, we talked about that a little bit last Friday's episode. That's where I would hope that they because I don't think they're actually talking about selling the team, but do they start to speed that process up? Which is what I'm talking about with the board. What do you do?
Nothing.
Because in most businesses, when things aren't working, the board overrides the boss and says, you have to do this, this, and this to fix this. But I don't know that anybody on the board knows what to do. They're just all sitting there with money in their pocket. That's part of the problem. Which brings me back to Kevin Warren. Like, I don't know it's the best option. I don't know that I trust Kevin Warren, but you did hire this guy to replace Ted Phillips. I guess the only option you have is to let him go to work, unless you're going to change the chairman at the top. But I don't see that happening right away, although it sure as hell should be considered. Because it just feels like we're going to end up in another 3-year cycle here.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. The cycle's continuing. Stronger as it ever has.
So you're saying I shouldn't book a vacation in January 2028?
No.
Should leave that month open.
We just should. We should just go. And at the same time, what does it matter? Everyone's gonna be so invested in this, like, next head coaching search, and I am not encouraged, given the recent history, that this will end well.
God, it would be something if Ben Johnson just turns them down. Wouldn't that be amazing? Not in a good way.
But at the same time, like, I could 100% see that happening.
Yeah. Ben, do you want to come talk to us?
No.
You sure?
Probably not.
Okay.
Like, and then I could see the Bears trying to give him, like, anything and everything to try to convince him to steal the deal. But at the same time, if I'm a candidate, that's alarming to me.
I'm more and more intrigued by this idea of, not that I haven't been intrigued by it anyway, but to bring kind of this whole podcast full circle, like hiring a football person.
I think I'm going to comment on that now.
I mean, I don't, we have to do a little bit. I want to know who that might be. I mean, I know Olin's name gets thrown out there all the time. There's just no world in which George McCaskey's hiring Olin Kreutz. It's just the reality of the situation. I'm not, I like the idea, but I'm just saying it's just, I cannot see that happening. I don't know who would really be interested. But when it has worked, you track the Lions' success. I mean, it is Chris Spielman got taken out of the broadcast booth, put in that role there. And the trickle-down effect to Brad Holmes, to Dan Campbell, to making the change with the offense coordinator, getting Ben Johnson in there. Like, it all started there. And they should build Chris Spielman a statue right now.
Greg Olson, he's a former Bear in a broadcast booth.
I like that. I like Greg Olson, though.
Wasn't Adam Archuleta doing games not so long ago?
Adam Archuleta. Let's throw Chris Conti in there, too. All right. I think one more came in. Then we should go.
I think we got a couple here. Joseph, thank you. That was an outstanding episode, by the way, with Jack Silverstein.
Oh, thank you, Joseph. Yeah. That one's still evergreen if you want to go back and check it out. It's from a week ago. Jack Silverstein, history stuff. We got a little bit into the succession plan as well. And then I think there's one from Andre. Can you help us understand what culture we needed or lack? Yes, Andre, that would be called a winning culture. I don't mean to be short with it, but like sometimes we overlook that whole thing. Winning habits. They don't know how to win.
I think this also goes back to like Ryan Poles' first year in charge, when like you're expected to lose. When that's like the goal is to be bad so you can build up. And I know we kind of praised it at the time because we've never seen anything like this conducted, at least with the Bears. But that kind of like seeps into different layers of your organization. And maybe this is the end result, is sometimes you just can't rid yourself of those losing ways that you embraced in order to rebuild your team, because you better get your draft selections right. You better be right in free agency, because if not, this is what you get.
Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for us. we will be back early next week. One more game to go. Hope everybody had a Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. The Bears, didn't really do their part to make you feel better, but there's always next year.
What are we, the Cubs now?
Worse than the Cubs.
They're not so lovable losers.
They wanted to be the Cubs, right? That's why they're the Bears. They're the bigger, meaner Cubs. Hasn't really worked out. All right. Make sure you are following us on social media. You can read Johnsy in The Athletic, theathletic.com/Hoge Jahns. Our show account is at Hoge Jahns, and all of our merch, go check it out. It's all up there for you, HoganJahns.com. We'll be back next week. Hope everybody enjoys their bearless weekend. There's plenty of football on. Watch some good football teams. Enjoy it. Spend some time with your loved ones. We'll talk to you next week.
See ya.